Welcome to the history of the sleeping legend Leonardo da Vinci, a mind shaped by curiosity, creativity, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. As you listen, allow your thoughts to slow. Let the noise of the day fade away. Observe the life of a man who saw the world not just as it was, but as it could be, full of possibilities waiting to be discovered. Notice how his patience, discipline, and tireless experimentation created ideas centuries ahead of his time. Let the lessons settle naturally, without effort. Feel free to comment where you are listening from in the world. I'd love to know who is joining this journey. Relax and enjoy. On April 15th, 1452, a child was born in the small village of Anciano, near the town of Vinci, in the Republic of Florence. Leonardo di Piero da Vinci, Leonardo, son of Piero from Vinci, entered the world as an illegitimate son, which would affect his social standing, but perhaps freed him from certain conventional expectations. From his earliest years, Leonardo's attention went to how things worked, not just what they were. He watched water flowing in streams, noticing patterns and currents. He observed plants growing, seeing mathematical arrangements in their leaves. He studied faces, detecting subtle emotions in expressions and gestures. His eyes were drawn to motion, structure, light, and shadow. While other children played, he watched and wondered. This natural curiosity, this desire to understand everything he encountered, would define his entire life. Leonardo's father, a notary, recognized some talent in the boy and arranged for him to apprentice with Andrea del Verrocchio. In Florence, around age 14, Verrocchio ran one of the most successful workshops in the city, producing paintings, sculptures, metalwork, and various commissioned pieces. In Verrocchio's workshop, Leonardo learned multiple crafts: painting, sculpting, metalworking, carpentry, drawing, and more. Renaissance workshops weren't specialized. Apprentices learned whatever the workshop produced, developing diverse practical skills. This broad training shaped Leonardo profoundly. He learned to work with his hands, to understand materials and tools, to solve practical problems. These weren't just artistic skills, but engineering and technical capabilities that would serve him throughout his life. The workshop environment also taught collaboration and craftsmanship. Young apprentices ground pigments, prepared panels, and helped with backgrounds. As they demonstrated ability, they took on more complex tasks. Eventually, skilled apprentices might paint portions of masters' works or complete minor commissions independently. According to tradition, Leonardo's talent emerged early. When asked to paint an angel in Verrocchio's Baptism of Christ, Leonardo's work was so superior that Verrocchio reportedly never painted again, recognizing his student had surpassed him. Whether literally true or not, this story captures Leonardo's exceptional ability. Think about your own early curiosity, the first time a question seized your attention, before you even knew what answers might look like. That pure wondering, that simple fascination with how things work, that was Leonardo's starting point. From this seed, an extraordinary mind would grow. Picture young Leonardo in Florence, walking through bustling streets, observing everything: how merchants balanced scales, how light reflected off the Arno River, how people's faces changed with different emotions. Every detail fed his growing understanding of the world. Leonardo believed sight was humanity's most powerful sense, and that seeing well formed the foundation for understanding anything. His personal motto became sapere vedere, knowing how to see. This wasn't about casual looking, but active, disciplined observation. Most people glance at things, registering just enough to recognize and categorize them. Leonardo looked deeply, noticing details others missed: subtle color transitions, structural relationships, patterns in apparent randomness. He applied this observational discipline to everything. When studying the human body, he noted exact muscle attachments and how they created movement. When examining water, he mapped flow patterns and vortices. When observing light, he analyzed how it scattered, reflected, and created gradations of shadow. This careful study transformed his art. He didn't paint what artistic convention dictated. He painted what nature revealed through patient observation. This made his work remarkably lifelike. Figures that seemed to breathe, landscapes that felt atmospheric, faces that conveyed genuine emotion. One revolutionary technique emerging from his observations was sfumato, an Italian word meaning like smoke. This involved blending colors and tones so gradually that transitions became imperceptible, creating soft, hazy effects that mimicked how we actually see things. Hard outlines don't exist in nature. When you look at a face, edges aren't sharply defined, but soften into surrounding space. Leonardo captured this by building up multiple thin layers of translucent paint, each barely visible, creating subtle gradations that gave his figures extraordinary three-dimensionality and atmospheric quality. Imagine standing before a landscape at dawn. The light changes continuously, minute by minute, second by second. Colors shift while shadows lengthen or fade. Details emerge or disappear in mist. Leonardo's eye held all these subtle transitions, this constant flux. He saw not static images, but living, changing phenomena. This is the gift of truly seeing, looking beyond surface appearances to underlying structures, relationships, and patterns. It requires slowing down, paying attention, setting aside preconceptions about what you expect to see, and actually observing what's there. The practice applies beyond art. In any field, science, business, relationships, personal growth. Careful observation reveals what rushed glancing misses. Problems contain clues to solutions. Situations display patterns pointing toward understanding. People show emotions beneath their words. Leonardo demonstrated that enhanced seeing is learnable. It's not magical talent, but disciplined practice, choosing to look carefully, repeatedly, patiently, until observation becomes habitual. The world reveals its secrets to those who take time to notice. Picture Leonardo sketching outdoors, watching how light plays across hills as the sun moves. He returns to the same view repeatedly under different conditions: morning light, afternoon sun, overcast days, golden hour before sunset. Each observation adds to his understanding of how light and atmosphere create visual effects. Leonardo's paintings don't merely depict people, they reveal inner worlds. Through careful study of anatomy, emotion, and psychology, he created figures that seem psychologically present, not just physically represented. His most famous work, the Mona Lisa, has captivated viewers for over 500 years. The painting shows Lisa Gherardini, wife of a Florentine merchant, but has become far more than a portrait. It's an exploration of human mystery itself. That famous, ambiguous smile has generated endless analysis. Is she happy? Melancholic? Knowing? Secretive? The expression seems to shift depending on where you look and your own state of mind. This ambiguity is deliberate. Leonardo created it through subtle manipulation of facial features and sfumato technique. He understood that human emotion isn't fixed or simple. We feel multiple things simultaneously. Expressions blend joy and sadness, confidence and uncertainty, warmth and reserve. By capturing this complexity, Leonardo made the Mona Lisa feel psychologically real. A person, not just an image. The painting also demonstrates his mastery of technique. The background landscape fades into atmospheric haze, demonstrating aerial perspective. the effect where distant objects become less distinct and bluer in tone. The figure sits in three-quarter view, engaging viewers directly. The hands rest in relaxed, natural position. Everything about the composition feels effortless, as though Lisa simply sat down, and Leonardo captured the moment. But this apparent simplicity required extraordinary skill and years of observation about how people actually look and move. Leonardo applied this same psychological insight to all his figure paintings. His Saint John the Baptist displays enigmatic, knowing expression that suggests inner spiritual experience. His Lady with an Ermine shows a young woman cradling an animal with genuine affection, revealing character through gesture. Even unfinished works, like the Adoration of the Magi, show his interest in varied human reactions. Each figure responds differently to the scene's central event, revealing personality through posture, gesture, and expression. This attention to psychological realism reflected Leonardo's broader interest in human nature. He studied faces systematically, noting how different muscles created different expressions. He sketched grotesque and beautiful faces, exploring the full range of human appearance. He even followed interesting-looking people through Florence streets, memorizing their features for later use. The lesson: just as Leonardo blended pigments and shadows to create seamless transitions, human emotions blend in subtle, complex ways. Rarely are feelings pure or simple. We're layered beings, revealing and concealing simultaneously. True understanding requires looking beyond surface appearances to underlying complexity. Picture yourself standing before the Mona Lisa in the Louvre. The painting is smaller than most expect, protected behind glass. Despite crowds and cameras, when you actually look at her face, the centuries fall away. That slight smile, those knowing eyes, they engage you directly, person to person, across 500 years. When Leonardo painted the Last Supper on the refectory wall of Santa Maria delle Grazie in Milan, he created more than a religious scene. He produced a study in human psychology, spatial composition, and dramatic narrative. The painting depicts the moment Christ announces that one of his disciples will betray him. Leonardo wasn't interested in static, formal arrangement of figures common in earlier Last Supper paintings. He wanted to capture the immediate psychological and physical reactions to shocking news. Each of the 12 disciples responds differently, revealing personality through gesture and expression. Some lean forward in concern, others pull back in shock. Some talk to neighbors, seeking clarification or reassurance, several gestures emphatically. The variety demonstrates Leonardo's understanding that people react to crises in individual ways. Judas, the betrayer, sits among the disciples rather than isolated on the opposite side, as in traditional depictions. Leonardo subtly distinguishes him. He leans back, partially in shadow, clutching a bag of coins while others lean forward. The psychological distinction is clear without being heavy-handed. Christ sits calmly at the center, arms spread, in gesture of acceptance and resignation. His figure forms a stable triangle, while chaos erupts around him. This compositional choice makes the contrast between his serenity and the disciples' agitation even more striking. Leonardo masterfully used mathematical perspective to organize the space. The ceiling beams, side walls, and table edges all converge toward Christ's head, making him the inevitable focal point. The composition draws your eye naturally to the painting's psychological and spiritual center. The work also demonstrates Leonardo's understanding of group dynamics. The disciples cluster in groups of 3, creating subunits of conversation and interaction. This feels natural rather than formally arranged. They seem like real people reacting to real news, not posed models illustrating a text. Technically, Leonardo experimented with a new painting method for this commission. Rather than using traditional fresco technique, painting quickly on wet plaster, he developed a tempera and oil technique on dry plaster, allowing him to work slowly and make changes. Unfortunately, this experimental technique proved less durable than traditional fresco. The painting began deteriorating within Leonardo's lifetime and has required repeated restoration. Despite this physical damage, its psychological power and compositional brilliance remain evident. Imagine standing in that refectory, looking at the wall. The painted room appears to extend the actual room, creating the illusion that Christ and the disciples share your space. Their emotional reactions, shock, concern, confusion, denial, mirror what you might feel receiving similar news. The boundary between artwork and reality feels permeable. The Last Supper demonstrates Leonardo's conviction that art should capture life, not idealized or simplified life, but actual human experience in all its emotional complexity and psychological nuance. Through careful observation and technical mastery, he made painted figures live. Leonardo's curiosity about how things worked extended to the human body itself. He wasn't content painting surfaces. He wanted to understand the underlying structures, bones, muscles, organs, vessels, that created visible form and enabled movement. To gain this understanding, he dissected human cadavers, a practice that was technically illegal and certainly unpleasant. He performed these dissections in hospitals and morgues, often working quickly before decomposition made study impossible. Over his lifetime, he dissected approximately 30 bodies, carefully documenting what he observed. His anatomical drawings are extraordinary, detailed, accurate, and beautifully rendered. He didn't just sketch what he saw, but developed innovative drawing techniques to represent three-dimensional structures on flat pages. He drew organs from multiple angles, used cross-sections to show interior structures, and created layered diagrams showing how systems related to each other. His studies covered the entire body. He mapped the skeletal system, showing accurate bone structure and joint mechanics. He traced muscle groups, documenting their attachments and understanding how they worked in pairs to create movement. He examined the heart and vascular system, producing some of the first accurate drawings of heart valves. His drawings of the fetus in the womb are particularly remarkable, showing the curled position, the umbilical cord, and the layers of membranes surrounding the developing child. These were among the first accurate depictions of human development before birth. Leonardo approached anatomy with both scientific precision and artistic sensitivity. His drawings are not just accurate, but beautiful, rendered with the same care and skill he brought to finished artworks. Each line serves both aesthetic and informational purposes. This anatomical knowledge profoundly influenced his art. Understanding muscle and bone structure helped him paint bodies that looked genuinely three-dimensional and anatomically correct. His figures twist and turn convincingly because he knew exactly what was happening beneath the skin. But his interest went beyond practical application to art. He studied anatomy because he wanted to understand life itself, how bodies functioned, what created movement, what distinguished living from dead tissue. These weren't just drawings for reference, but investigations into fundamental questions about existence. He also studied animal anatomy, dissecting horses, bears, birds, and other creatures. He compared human and animal structures, noting similarities and differences. This comparative approach revealed general principles of anatomy and movement across species. Imagine Leonardo in a candlelit room, carefully dissecting a cadaver, making precise cuts to reveal structures beneath. He pauses frequently to sketch what he observes, rendering in ink what his scalpel reveals. The work is difficult, physically demanding, emotionally challenging, often performed in secrecy. But his curiosity drives him forward. These drawings weren't made for public exhibition or immediate practical use. They were made to understand, to see beneath surface appearance, to the hidden architecture that creates visible life. To know deeply, Leonardo recognized, you must sometimes look beneath the surface, even when that looking is difficult or uncomfortable. One of Leonardo's most iconic images is the Vitruvian Man, a figure standing within both a circle and a square, arms and legs extended in two positions. This drawing is far more than anatomical study. It represents Leonardo's belief in the profound connection between art, mathematics, and human existence. The drawing illustrates ideas from the ancient Roman architect Vitruvius, who wrote about ideal human proportions. Vitruvius claimed the human body embodied mathematical perfection, that specific ratios governed limb lengths, body segments, and overall proportions. Leonardo tested these claims through careful measurement and drawing. The figure stands upright, with arms horizontal in one position, fitting perfectly within a square. In the second position, arms and legs spread, the figure fits within a circle centered at the navel. This demonstrates how human proportions relate to fundamental geometric forms. The drawing includes extensive notes in Leonardo's characteristic mirror writing, documenting specific proportional relationships. The length of outstretched arms equals height. The distance from hairline to chin equals 1/10 of total height. The foot is 1/7 of height. These and many other ratios demonstrate mathematical relationships in human anatomy. But Leonardo's Vitruvian Man represents more than measurement exercise. It embodies Renaissance conviction that humanity occupies a special place in creation, that we reflect universal order, that our bodies manifest cosmic proportions, that mathematics bridges physical and spiritual realms. The circle traditionally represented the divine, the perfect, the eternal. The square represented the earthly, the material, the temporal. By showing the human figure fitting both, Leonardo suggested humanity participates in both realms, simultaneously physical and spiritual, earthly and divine. This drawing also demonstrates Leonardo's integration of different knowledge domains. He brings together ancient architectural theory, contemporary anatomical study, mathematical proportion, geometric form, and artistic representation. The result transcends any single discipline, creating something richer than parts alone could produce. The Vitruvian Man has become a cultural icon, reproduced on everything from textbooks to currency. It represents the Renaissance ideal of understanding, that art and science, beauty and mathematics, observation and theory all contribute to comprehensive knowledge. For Leonardo, studying proportion wasn't just academic exercise. He believed understanding mathematical relationships in nature revealed divine creative principles. The same proportions appearing in human bodies, in architectural structures, in musical harmonies, suggested underlying unity connecting all creation. This perspective encouraged seeking patterns and relationships across different phenomena. If the same mathematical ratios appeared in diverse contexts, human anatomy, plant growth, architectural beauty, perhaps they reflected fundamental truths about reality itself. Picture Leonardo carefully measuring a model, recording exact dimensions, calculating ratios, testing whether theoretical proportions matched actual observations, then drawing the figure with geometric precision, pen and ink, creating clean lines that capture both anatomical reality and mathematical ideality in a single unified image. Leonardo filled thousands of pages with observations, sketches, ideas, and questions. These notebooks provide an extraordinary window into his thinking, revealing not just final conclusions, but the process of inquiry itself, the questions that drove his investigations. He wrote in mirror script, right to left, letters reversed, perhaps because he was left-handed, and found this more comfortable, perhaps to keep notes somewhat private. The notebooks mix text and image freely, with drawings surrounded by annotations, observations leading to sketches, questions prompting investigations. The subjects range across every imaginable domain. Pages show anatomical studies next to flying machine designs. Botanical observations appear near geometric puzzles. Engineering schemes mix with artistic techniques. Philosophical reflections coexist with practical notes about materials and methods. Many pages focus on water, its movement, flow patterns, waves, currents, spirals. Leonardo filled entire notebooks studying water, fascinated by its behavior. He sketched turbulent flows, designed canal systems, proposed hydraulic machines, and contemplated water's role in shaping landscapes. Other sections detail military engineering, fortifications, weapons, defensive systems, siege equipment. Leonardo worked as a military engineer for various patrons, designing practical solutions to strategic problems. His notebooks show armored vehicles, enormous crossbows, rapid-fire cannons, and innovative fortification designs. Still other pages explore pure geometry and mathematics, transformations of shapes, calculations of areas and volumes, proportional systems, mechanical problem-solving. Leonardo approached mathematics visually, thinking through geometric diagrams rather than pure algebraic notation. The notebooks also contain observational studies, birds in flight, cloud formations, tree growth patterns, facial expressions, drapery folds. Leonardo drew constantly from life, training his eye and hand to capture what he saw accurately and efficiently. Reading through these notebooks, you sense a mind that never rested, that saw questions everywhere, that couldn't resist investigating whatever caught its attention. An observation leads to a question. The question prompts a sketch. The sketch reveals new problems. Each answer generates further inquiries. Most of these notebooks were never intended for publication. They were working documents, Leonardo thinking on paper, recording observations before they faded, exploring ideas to see where they led. They are unfiltered glimpses of genius at work. Many pages remain cryptic or incomplete. Sentences break off mid-thought. Sketches lack explanation. Ideas appear without context. This fragmentary quality actually enhances their fascination. You see the raw material of thinking, not just polished conclusions. Some designs in the notebooks were clearly practical projects related to commissions Leonardo received. Others seem purely speculative, thought experiments exploring possibilities without immediate application. Still others represent long-term investigations Leonardo returned to, repeatedly over years. The notebooks reveal someone who thought primarily through drawing. Where most people write prose, to work through ideas, Leonardo drew. His hand and eye worked together, visual thinking and manual skill, creating understanding that purely verbal analysis might miss. Imagine walking beside Leonardo as he sketches, watching ideas take shape on the page before they've fully formed in words, seeing observation transform into understanding through the act of careful drawing. The hand moving across paper, following what the eye notices, creating an external record of internal thought. Leonardo da Vinci became the embodiment of the Renaissance man, someone who moves fluidly across multiple domains, refusing to limit curiosity to single specialization. He was simultaneously painter, sculptor, engineer, scientist, mathematician, musician, writer, and inventor. The Renaissance celebrated this kind of broad engagement, where medieval culture emphasized specialization and staying within your proper social role. Renaissance thinkers valued wide-ranging learning and diverse capabilities. The ideal person combined theoretical knowledge with practical skill, artistic sensitivity with scientific understanding, physical grace with intellectual depth. Leonardo exemplified this ideal more completely than perhaps anyone else. His mind refused boundaries between disciplines. Studying anatomy improved his painting. Engineering problems prompted artistic innovations. Scientific observations led to philosophical reflections. Everything connected, each domain enriching the others. This integration wasn't accidental. Leonardo believed all knowledge formed a unified whole, different aspects of single underlying reality. Understanding nature required multiple approaches: artistic sensitivity to beauty, scientific attention to function, mathematical grasp of proportion, philosophical reflection on meaning. He also believed that manual skill mattered as much as theoretical knowledge. The hand that could draw, sculpt, build, and operate tools wasn't inferior to the mind that could reason abstractly. Hand and mind worked together. Practical engagement, deepening theoretical understanding. This contrasted with attitudes that elevated pure thought above physical labor, that saw working with your hands as lower than working with your mind. Leonardo insisted both were essential. You couldn't truly understand something without trying to make it. To work with materials, to solve practical problems implementation created. His life teaches that curiosity shouldn't be limited by conventional boundaries. If something interests you, investigate it. If a question spans multiple fields, draw on multiple approaches. If understanding requires both thinking and making, do both. This doesn't mean superficial dabbling in everything. Leonardo went deep in multiple domains, developing genuine expertise in each. His anatomical knowledge rivaled that of physicians. His engineering capabilities impressed military leaders. His artistic skill surpassed that of specialists. Universal genius meant excellence across domains, not superficiality. The underlying attitude was humble curiosity rather than confident expertise. Leonardo approached everything as learner, observer, investigator. He asked questions more readily than he provided answers. He documented observations without always interpreting them. He remained comfortable with uncertainty and partial understanding. This questioning stance kept his mind active and engaged. Where confident expertise can become closed to new information, curious investigation remains perpetually open. Leonardo never seemed to feel he'd finished learning, solved all problems, understood everything completely. There was always more to observe, more to investigate, more to understand. For modern people, often pushed toward narrow specialization, Leonardo's example offers alternative vision. Perhaps deep expertise in one area can coexist with genuine engagement in others. Perhaps different knowledge domains inform and enrich each other rather than competing for limited mental resources. Perhaps staying curious across boundaries makes you better at everything rather than spreading yourself too thin. Picture Leonardo in his studio, painting in the morning, dissecting in the afternoon, sketching machines in the evening, playing music with friends at night. Each activity feeds the others. The careful observation developed through drawing improves his anatomical work. The understanding of structure gained from dissection enhances his painting. The mathematical thinking applied to engineering sharpens his geometric sense and composition. As you breathe slowly and settle toward rest, picture Leonardo under Tuscan skies. The soft light of late afternoon illuminates his workspace. Papers covered with sketches surround him. He's studying a bird's wing, noting how feathers overlap. how bones articulate, how muscle attachments create the capacity for flight. His attention is complete but relaxed. He's not forcing understanding or rushing toward conclusions. He's simply looking, carefully, patiently, allowing patterns to reveal themselves naturally. Each observation adds slightly to his growing comprehension of flight mechanics. Outside, water flows in a nearby canal. He can hear it, steady rhythm that has flowed for centuries and will flow for centuries more. This sound reminds him of earlier studies, sketches of turbulence, notes about vortices, observations about how water moves around obstacles. Everything connects. The bird's flight relates to air currents he's studied. The mathematical proportions in the wing-echo ratios he's found in human anatomy. The mechanical principles suggest engineering applications. But for now, he simply observes, letting curiosity guide attention without demanding immediate utility. Let Leonardo's relentless curiosity settle gently in your mind, like layers of paint building slowly toward a complete image, like shadows melting gradually into form, like understanding emerging patiently from sustained attention. His life demonstrates that wonder and discipline can coexist. You can approach the world with childlike fascination, while also bringing systematic rigor to investigation. Curiosity doesn't mean scattered attention, but focused engagement with whatever genuinely interests you. As you drift towards sleep, imagine walking through Leonardo's world, stone streets in Florence. The workshop smells of paint and wood, libraries filled with ancient texts. Nature waits just outside city walls, streams to study, hills to climb, birds to observe, plants to examine. Each detail offers an invitation to closer looking. Each observation raises new questions. Each answer reveals how much remains unknown. This isn't frustrating but energizing. The world reveals itself as endlessly fascinating, perpetually offering more to understand. Let this gentle curiosity accompany you into rest. Like Leonardo sketching by candlelight, as evening falls, thoughts becoming softer and less urgent, attention settling naturally on simple patterns. Light and shadow, form and space, question and wonder. Leonardo's notebooks are among history's most extraordinary intellectual documents. Over 7,000 pages survive, perhaps 1/4 of everything he wrote and drew. These pages provide unparalleled access to a great mind at work. The notebooks weren't organized treatises intended for publication. They were working documents Leonardo carried with him, recording observations and ideas as they occurred. He wrote on whatever paper was available, in whatever format suited the content. Some pages carefully laid out, others cramped and dense, with overlapping notes. He divided his attention among multiple notebooks simultaneously. One might focus primarily on anatomy, another on hydraulics, another on painting technique. But the boundaries weren't rigid. An anatomical notebook might include mechanical sketches. An engineering notebook might contain artistic studies. His mind moved fluidly across subjects. The most famous collections include the Codex Atlanticus, over 1,000 pages, covering mathematics, engineering, and science. The Codex Arundel contains notes on mechanics and geometry. The Codex Leicester focuses on water, fossils, and cosmology. The Windsor collection holds anatomical and natural studies. Each offers windows into different aspects of Leonardo's investigations. His notes on painting, later compiled as the Treatise on Painting, systematically explain his artistic principles. He discusses color theory, perspective, atmospheric effects, composition, and technique. Reading these pages, you understand that his artistic mastery wasn't just intuitive talent, but carefully developed understanding, applied systematically. Engineering sketches fill many pages. Designs for mills, pumps, cranes, weapons, bridges, and fortifications. Some represent actual commissions Leonardo worked on. Others seem purely speculative, exploring mechanical possibilities without immediate application. All demonstrate sophisticated understanding of forces, motion, and materials. The anatomical sections are particularly remarkable. Leonardo didn't just copy from medical texts. He performed original investigations, documenting observations previous anatomists had missed. His drawings of the cardiovascular system, the fetus in utero, and the structure of the eye represent genuine anatomical discoveries. Pages of geometric studies show Leonardo working through mathematical problems visually. He transforms shapes, calculates areas, explores proportions, all through drawings rather than algebraic notation. For Leonardo, mathematics was visual and spatial, best understood through diagrams and constructed figures. The botanical studies are equally careful. Detailed drawings of plants showing growth patterns, leaf arrangements, flower structures, and branching patterns. Leonardo recognized that plants follow mathematical rules in their development, with spirals and proportional relationships governing their form. Many pages contain pure observation, without explicit interpretation. Sketches of clouds, waves, faces, drapery folds, rock formations. Leonardo drew what he saw, building a visual vocabulary and training his perception without necessarily knowing how each study would eventually be useful. The fragmentary, unfinished quality of many notebook pages reveals the process rather than just results. You see Leonardo thinking through problems, starting sketches and abandoning them, writing notes that trail off, circling back, to revisit earlier ideas with new insights. Reading these notebooks, you witness a mind constitutionally unable to stop questioning. An observation about bird flight leads to sketches of flying machines. A note about water flow prompts geometric analysis of spiral forms. An anatomical discovery suggests engineering applications. Everything triggers further investigation. This restless intellectual energy never seems exhausted or burdensome. Leonardo's curiosity appears joyful, playful even. He investigates because he finds it fascinating, not out of grim duty or forced application. The notebooks pulse with genuine delight in discovery and understanding. Think of these notebooks as rivers branching in all directions, some flowing toward art, others toward machines, still others toward natural philosophy. All fed by the same source of curiosity, all parted of the same vast watershed of investigation and wonder. Imagine turning a notebook page slowly, seeing Leonardo's mirror script filling the margins, sketches emerging from the text, observations layered upon each other. Each page is a moment of attention preserved, a question asked, a phenomenon noticed and recorded before it could fade from memory. Few subjects fascinated Leonardo more than flight. He filled entire notebooks, particularly the codex on the flight of birds, studying how birds stay aloft, maneuver, and land. This wasn't idle speculation. He seriously believed humans could achieve flight through careful study and engineering. He observed birds intensely, noting how wing shapes changed during different flight phases. He saw that wings aren't simply flat paddles, but complex structures with variable geometry. Feathers overlap like shingles, creating smooth surfaces that can separate to allow air passage when needed. He studied how birds launch, the initial powerful downstroke that lifts them off ground, the angle of wings catching air, the positioning of tail feathers for balance. He noticed how different species use different techniques, some running to gain speed, others leaping vertically, still others dropping from perches. Soaring flight particularly intrigued him. How do birds, especially large ones like hawks and eagles, stay aloft without constant wing beating? He observed how they use rising air currents, circle to gain altitude, and glide long distances without visible effort. This suggested that understanding air movement was crucial to achieving flight. Based on these observations, Leonardo designed ornithopters, machines with flapping wings intended to mimic bird flight. His sketches show various configurations, some with wings operated by arms, others by legs, still others by complex systems of levers and pulleys. He calculated the wing area needed to lift a human and considered materials light, enough yet strong enough for construction. He also sketched what appears to be a parachute, a pyramid-shaped fabric structure, sized to slow a person's fall. The design seems sound by modern understanding, though there's no evidence Leonardo ever tested it. Another famous sketch shows an aerial screw, a helical device that would supposedly lift vertically by rotating, forcing air downward. This is sometimes called an early helicopter concept, though the materials and power sources of Leonardo's time couldn't have made it functional. He designed glider-like structures with fixed wings closer to modern aircraft than flapping ornithopters. These designs recognized that steady lift from properly shaped wings might be more practical than mechanical wing flapping. In retrospect, this approach proved more fruitful for eventual human flight. Leonardo's calculations and designs were remarkably sophisticated for someone working 400 years before successful powered flight. He understood key principles: that wings must generate sufficient lift to overcome weight, that control surfaces are needed for steering, that lightweight construction is essential, that the pilot's weight and position affect stability. What he lacked wasn't theoretical understanding, but technology. Materials available in the 1500s, wood, fabric, metal, couldn't provide sufficient strength at necessary lightness. Power sources, human muscle, couldn't generate force needed for sustained flight. Manufacturing techniques couldn't produce the precision components required. Yet his investigations weren't wasted. By studying flight systematically, Leonardo established approaches that future aviation pioneers would rediscover. His observation that understanding nature's solutions provides insight for engineering remains fundamental to biomimicry and modern design. His flight studies also demonstrate his general approach: careful observation of natural phenomena, systematic documentation, application of mathematical and mechanical principles, creative engineering to mimic natural capabilities. Whether the specific designs worked mattered less than the investigative process itself. Think of Leonardo's mind treating the sky as puzzle, not impossible barrier, but invitation to understand and eventually transcend through knowledge and engineering. Where others saw birds and accepted flight as their special capability, Leonardo saw principles waiting to be grasped and applied. Picture him watching a hawk circle overhead, rising on invisible currents, wings barely moving. His eyes track every adjustment, wing angle changing, tail feathers spreading or contracting, head turning to scan the ground. Later, in his studio, he'll sketch what he observed, noting measurements, questioning mechanisms, imagining how human engineering might replicate these natural solutions. The dream of flight represents the larger truth about Leonardo's approach to everything. Nothing was simply accepted as impossible. Any capability nature demonstrated could potentially be understood and reproduced through careful study and clever engineering. The limits were temporary, reflecting current understanding's boundaries rather than permanent impossibilities. Leonardo's engineering genius manifested in countless mechanical designs, filling his notebooks. While many were never built, they demonstrate sophisticated understanding of mechanical principles and creative problem-solving abilities. He designed various types of bridges, some permanent stone structures, others temporary military bridges, that could be quickly assembled and disassembled. One famous sketch shows a self-supporting arched bridge constructed from standardized components, deployable without nails or bindings. The design is both elegant and practical. His sketches include numerous cranes and lifting devices for construction and military applications. These show understanding of leverage, pulleys, gears, and mechanical advantage. He designed mechanisms to multiply force, allowing relatively weak power sources to lift heavy weights. Water-moving devices fill many pages, pumps, screws, and wheels for raising water from lower to higher elevations. Some designs were for irrigation, others for draining flooded areas, still others for fountains and water features in gardens. Each demonstrates grasp of hydraulic principles and mechanical ingenuity. Military engineering occupied significant attention. Leonardo worked for various Italian leaders as military engineer, designing fortifications, weapons, and siege equipment. His notebooks show enormous crossbows, rapid-fire cannons, armored vehicles resembling modern tanks, and defensive works designed to withstand cannon fire. An infamous sketch shows a scythed chariot, a vehicle with rotating blades intended to mow down enemy soldiers. While gruesomely effective in theory, such devices proved impractical in reality. Leonardo's military designs mixed genuinely useful innovations with speculative or impractical ideas.